Now on top of that, one of the interesting things is sport, and age group sport, has tended to ignore the basic science. So along the bottom of this particular graph, you see the first 2 decades of life in years. On the vertical axis, you see a percentage scale, 100% being the adult state. And this first line that I'm showing you is the neural development curve in humans, aka brain size, brain weight, the hardwiring of the information system in the brain, if you like, the neural signaling pathway, the brain and the nervous system. With me on that? This is how we communicate. It's our internet. You can see that in the first decade and a half or so of life, massive increase in capacity. Massive increase in capacity. The brain grows very quickly, responding to a multitude of stimuli that the young child is being exposed to. And then gradually there's a plateauing of that as the brain size reaches its maximum. And not that brain development is over by any stretch of the imagination. Just to scare you, this is the most recent book, at least that's a sort of an amalgam of all the most recent brain research. And clearly one of the most important things you need to understand is this. You can teach an old dog new tricks, but there are clearly windows of sensitivity, periods of sensitivity, of which, as I said to you before, the first decade to a decade and a half is one of those. The next thing, in this second decade and out into the third decade, is actually the brain and the human learns to use that capacity they've developed. It's one reason why before about the age of 12 to 13 years of age, children are somewhat challenged about being able to use previous experience in new situations, something we take for granted. They're not miniature adults. The reason why you get that downturn around 12, 13, 14 years of life age, and you get that plateauing, is that the brain starts to ruthlessly cull those synapses that it doesn't use very often. This particular line should basically scream at you, and I mean scream at you. Expose your youngsters to as many different stimuli as possible, particularly through that first decade and a half of life. Does this mean to say that you're not delivering world-leading skill programs? Of course not. Everything I'm saying to you is you need to raise the bar every step of the way. Age group programming, regardless of where the kid's going. Regardless. I have no idea where the average 8-year-old, 9-year-old's going in their life. That does not abdicate your authority for doing the best, or your responsibility for doing the best possible thing for that youngster. The best possible program. We need to turn our programming upside down. We need to have a respect and understanding that you can be a world-leading developmental coach. If we start talking about high performance in age group sport, we're not talking about high performance in the competitive outcome of a bunch of meaningless competitions. We're talking about high performance delivery of the program. We're talking about coaches of 6 and 7-year-olds who are the best instructors of 6 and 7-year-olds in the planet, no matter what country they're in. They know how to teach skating. They know how to respond. They know how to create an environment that is both severely challenging but extremely rewarding and motivating, because remember, the most powerful thing that brings kids back week in, week out, session after session, is having fun. And remember this. Kids would far rather play on a losing team than sit on the bench. Sorry, I said that the wrong way. Kids would far rather play on a losing team than sit on the bench of a winning team. That's well shown in the literature.